Hello, 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 and welcome to another segment of Rate the Leadership with your host, John Mays. Today we have a fantastic show covering a very controversial issue around gender identity. It's a shame that we even have to have this conversation, but the Bible said that this is going to happen in the last days. So we really need to talk about it. And on this show, what we're going to do today is we're going to rate the leadership of our previous administration, our previous presidents, versus the president who has just taking charge right now, President Donald J. Trump. But also back when he was president in 2020. Let's see the difference between President Obama, President Biden, and President Trump. And let's rate the leadership on this issue. Again, we shouldn't even be having this debate about gender identity. But again, the Bible said this was going to happen. So we're going to talk about, should men be in women's prisons? Honestly, my opinion, heck no. Okay, heck no. Listen, I have family members on both sides who've committed some dumb crimes and now they're sitting in prison right now looking stupid. But the point is, the females that are in prison right now, honey, are about $1.25, baby. Small, petite little things. And yeah, you may have some bigger women in there, but baby, ain't nobody stronger than a man. And then the men that I know that are in there, they're like big old beasts. Okay, big, strong, gorilla type beasts all up in the prison, and you want to be a man up in there with these women and overtake these women, honey, we're going to talk about it. But listen, let's get into this compilation of videos to see whose leadership is the best. Let's get into it on Rate the Leadership. Let's go.
Recognizes the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Nels.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Director Peters, thank you for being here. As you know, in 2018, President Donald J. Trump rightfully rolled back Obama-era policies related to its transgender offender manual. President Trump's policy simply removed a sentence that instructed BOP officials to consider transgender inmates gender.
Did he just say, hold the phone, did he just say that this was a policy brought in by Obama? Lord help us there. Now, isn't he the Black Messiah? Honey, his laws are not adding up to the real Messiah, Jesus Christ, because this is insanity. But let's get back into it. I'm going to stop interrupting. I might, because this is crazy. Okay, let's go.
Identity when making decisions regarding prison housing. President Trump mandated BOP officials use biological sex as the initial determination for placement decisions. I believe this was common sense. I think America would agree. Ladies should be held with ladies, and I think men should be housed with men. But in a string of policy reversals over the past 3 years, President Biden reissued Obama's guidelines, given even further to require prison staff to use a transgender person's preferred names and pronouns. You agree with this?
Congressman, we are required to provide medical and mental health care for all individuals, including those who
So that answer,
identify
then
as
that's a yes,
transgender.
pretty much a yes, okay. In your testimony, you stated recognizing that incarcerated women, including those in the LGBTQ community, require different resources and support than men. We recognize that we must create environments for these bad hombres that respond to the realities of women's lives and address the issues specific to their lived experiences, end quote. So can you provide the definition of a woman? What is a woman, since you believe there's a difference?
Congressman, so I think in the supermajority of our housing placements at the Federal Bureau of Prisons, we place individuals based on their biological sex. All but 11 individuals at the Federal Bureau of Prisons are placed in housing assignments based on their biological sex in their...
When does that start then, Director? So, okay, so I just got convicted of robbing convenience stores. And all of a sudden I go to court and they convict me and I'm going to prison. And now instead of saying my name is Troy Nails, I'm now going to say my name is Susie Nails. And I am a woman, right? I just make that claim. At what point in time during this spectrum will that allow me then to release the bull into the pen of heifers?
So, Congressman, in this scenario, I suspect you're talking about producing a false claim, and that
Well, whatever. I mean, how can you deny it?
Man.
I believe I'm a woman now.
But what would happen then is it would trigger a very complex, serious evaluation from degreed medical doctors and psychologists who would conduct an evaluation based on your gender identity.
Have we released, to your knowledge, have we released anybody that has not gone through the transition into the pen of heifers?
Have we released them? Sorry, sir.
Yes,
Not
if I say I'm a man, I'm a woman now, and I haven't had any surgeries up to this point, maybe I'll get them while I'm in prison, because I'm assuming we're paying for those, right?
We have paid for 2 gender-affirming
Hey,
surgeries.
too, so once you start, you're gonna continue, you ain't changing that, right?
There are 5.
I mean, look at this guy, this is an interesting guy, folks. Look at this guy, his name is Peter Langen. He got long hair, look at this guy, he looks like a bad guy. He's a bad guy. He's a Nazi, ex-Nazi terrorist. He's a bad hombre. And this guy wants to be referred to as Donna. Do your employees, do you require them to say, call this guy now named, he must be called Donna?
Congressman, no, and in fact, in order to produce a name change.
Well, he's suing you all because he's claiming that his Eighth Amendment rights were violated for not being provided gender-conforming surgery. For the people at home, this man is an ex-Nazi bank robber. In June, his lawsuit was settled, and I'd like to know whether this means that inmates now have the Eighth Amendment right to sex changes. Are we paying for guys like this who are just sick? We send them to prison, we're restricting their freedom, and now this guy says he wants to be Donna. I suppose I understand why he'd want to be Donna, because you want to release this guy into the pen of heifers. You're releasing the stud into the pen of heifers is what you're doing. Isn't that what a guy would want to do? If I'm going to prison for 10 years and you're restricting my freedom, I guess I would want to go to the prison where the ladies are. Wouldn't you suggest that? Wouldn't that be a good idea? And if you're allowing that to take place through this process by talking to these shrinks and these guys, I'm going to convince you I'm a woman and I'm going to enjoy 5 years in prison. Matter of fact, half of them would probably say, don't even release me on patrol. I'm having too much fun here.
Y'all, we can't make this stuff up. Do you hear this? I want to rate the leadership. So let's go back to what he said. This was put in place by Obama. It's y'all's Messiah, baby. Because I want my 2008 vote back. Anyway, let's talk about leadership here. Is this good leadership to place biological men in women's prisons and put women at risk? Let's go to the next video because I like to hear what Tucker Carlson has to say. Okay, here we go.
So in modern America, if you point out that biological sex is a physical reality, you can be fired from your job. The Washington Post will send a reporter to your house to intimidate you, but
folks, they were firing people for stating the facts. So we need to rate the leadership even on the HR departments of the corporations. This is terrible. Because you said you can only be a male or a female according to the Bible, according to the Creator, God Himself, and we all know it's true. If you didn't say that, you could be fired. So if you didn't go to Satan's route, you could be fired from your job. Rate the leadership, folks.
doesn't change anything. Denying reality doesn't change reality. You could say gravity isn't real, but if you jump off the roof of your garage, you're still going to get hurt. And that's true for biological sex. It is, in fact, real, whether the authorities admit it or not. Officials in New Jersey are learning that lesson this week. 2 female inmates at a supposedly all-women's prison in New Jersey have just become pregnant. You wonder how that happened. Well, it turns out those women had sexual encounters with another inmate who was a biological man passing as a woman. Now, some people predicted that this would happen, and they were laughed at, mocked, and attacked as bigots. Kara Dansky is at the very top of that list. She said this years ago on our show. She's the president of the U.S. chapter of the Women's Declaration International, author of the book, The Abolition of Sex, How the Transgender Agenda Harms Women and Girls, and we are happy to have Kara Dansky back. Kara, thanks so much for coming on. I'll never forget the first time, and it had to have been at least 4 years ago, when you said, if we keep going down this path, we're going to have biological men in women's prisons. And you were right.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. You know, though the story that's happening in New Jersey is obviously horrible for so many reasons. We need to not have men being housed in women's prisons. But a couple takeaways from this that I just want to point out are, first of all, the state is not getting away with this by telling its residents that they are housing men in women's prisons. What they are doing, of course, is telling the residents that they are housing so-called transgender women or trans women in women's prisons, suggesting that there is some sort of subcategory of women that is called transgender women or trans women, and it's not true. The fact of this story shoots a hole right through the trope that trans women are women. Our society has been taught that we are supposed to say and think that trans women are women, but obviously that is not true, because the individuals that are the focus of the story impregnated women, and every thinking adult, no matter what the President of the United States has to say on the matter, knows that there is no category of women who can impregnate women. So I really want to thank you for highlighting this story. And I also just want to point out that this is not just a problem in New Jersey. This is a problem across the country. I know that we have talked previously about how the state of California recently enacted a law at the end of 2020, which went into effect in 2021, which mandates that men be housed in women's prisons on the basis of their so-called gender identity if they say that they are women. Washington state has a similar policy. However, this is not just happening in blue states. This is happening across the country. As far as I know, 49 states plus the District of Columbia have some form of law or policy in place that mandates the housing of men in women's prisons.
Why is it left to you and J.K. Rowling and a couple of others to point this out? Where are the physicians who know perfectly well that what you're saying is true, the biologists who know it every bit as well? Why are they going along with this when they know it's a lie?
So the entire medical establishment in the United States has been captured by so-called trans ideology.
Y'all see this dude? Come on, man. Y'all see this dude? This dude put a bun up with some eyeliner and said, I'm a woman now. Y'all, we can't make this stuff up. Boy, the Bible passages are just jumping off the Bible. Let's get back into it.
And what I really want all Americans across the political spectrum to understand is that trans is not a civil rights movement to protect a marginalized community of people. It is a multi-trillion-dollar industry that is pushing this. It is paying the medical establishment. It is paying most media outlets. It is paying our government. It is paying our schools. It is at all levels, elementary schools through college, to push the idea that the material reality of sex does not exist, and that what is more important than the material reality.
Lord Jesus, honey, we need Jesus now. Do y'all hear this insanity? Rate the leadership. Rate the leadership.
Reality of sex is so-called gender identity. This is all being pushed by a multi-trillion-dollar industry in the guise of a civil rights movement. It's all a lie.
And these
civil rights. Civil rights. You know, Satan is a master deceiver. Jesus says Satan deceived the whole world. So that's why you have to have your biblical sense, your biblical thinking cap on. You have to have a common sense, biblical thinking, common sense hat on, guys. Okay? Put it on.
the people providing our medical care. It's really scary when you put it that way.
They are. I know someone who is a medical student right now, and she is horrified about what's being taught. I do just want to say really quickly, there's something that has been announced in the past couple of weeks called the Women's Bill of Rights. This was drafted by members of the Women's Liberation Front and by members of Independent Women's Voices, supported by my organization, Women's Declaration International, as well as Concerned Women for America. And I really hope that one of the members of Congress introduces it. Thank you so much.
I hope so too. Great to see you. We'll be right back.
Honey, do you hear this discussion? And they are really fighting over this. So let's just run this down. The Obama administration put this into place. The Trump administration came along in 2020 during his term and said, no, this doesn't make sense. Let's get rid of it. And then the Biden administration. So you got the Democrats, then you got the Republicans, and then you have the Democrats who come back in and sign it back into law. So which party is on the Lord's side? You tell me. Because which party is the party of common sense and which party is the party of insanity? Okay, because this is insane. Let's get to the next video. Okay, here we go.
Ooh.
There are only two genders, male and female.
Protecting women from radical gender ideologies.
Ooh.
An official policy of the United States that there are only two genders, male and female. And we will have no men participating in women's sports, and transgender operations, which became the rage, will occur very rarely. Finally, as we restore common sense in America, we're moving quickly to bring back strength and peace.
Listen, folks, I want y'all to rate the leadership on this. Is it good leadership to allow women to be in harm's way? Or is it good leadership to protect women? It don't matter in what circumstance they're in, whether it's in sports, prisons, locker rooms, bathrooms. Is it good leadership to go along with someone just because they changed their mind yesterday and said, you know I was a man today, but tomorrow I'm going to be a woman? Is it good leadership to go along with that and put everyone else, again, in harm's way? I want you guys to rate the leadership on President Obama, President Biden, and President Trump. Who's on the Lord's side? Thank y'all so much for watching. Don't forget to comment. I appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for watching, and God bless you all. See you on the next one.